the global space, there is so much hate. Why do we fight? Why not spread love? Ngati danane, ngati batane, tiwa kerukare, tiwa kerunyararo, ngati batane, ngati danane.
I believe if we want to achieve our SDGs, the UN should include the youths, because as we are right now, the youths are the future of tomorrow. Encountering also gender equality and all the issues that are involved, I think we can achieve a lot. For example, the youth today we have come up with a lot of ideas and they are very innovative. With that, I think we can achieve a lot by making sure that as young as they are, we accept them and give them the right direction to give us the information that we need. For example, in America as it is, the youth are learning about robots at an age of 5 years. And if we culture that at an early age, we can cultivate better people, better homes, and a better future.
Especially in the STI discourse, young people are a key constituency in African societies and indeed across the globe. They are again the most relevant demographic component in this digital world, hence should be recognized as key strategic partners in the socio-economic transformation process post the COVID-19 era. It is from this background that young people need to be intellectually empowered with the effective approaches, mechanisms, strategies, and policies for applying STI appropriately to develop the Africa we want. When utilized appropriately, STI can be mobilized to identify barriers to and provide solutions for sustainable development challenges from the local to the global level. STI has contributed greatly to our global success stories towards SDGs. Its immense contribution has been realized in various smart systems across sectors and the provision of goods and services through contemporary digital systems like artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies. Above all, it has allowed member states to join forces and strengthen their COVID-19 response and recovery efforts, allowing visual dialogues and sharing of ideas by stakeholders across the globe. I can't overemphasize, but science, technology, and innovation are indispensable elements in this fourth industrial revolution. Needless to say that the novel coronavirus has offered a powerful and an extremely clear lesson about the appropriate role of science in helping to guide us towards a better future. The necessity of STI is not just limited to address the impact of the COVID-19, but also to address all societal changes and global threats, including climate change, inequalities, and biodiversity. It is imperative that as we have a positive regard for the value of young people in driving STI-based programs, if we are to achieve the transformative change we need in this decade of action. Although the direct impact of the coronavirus on youth have been lesser than that of other segments on the demography, however, the disruption caused by the pandemic will have disproportionately higher longer-term impacts on them. The global pandemic has led to disruptions to the education system through school closures, leading to over 1 billion learners in almost every country worldwide being impacted. Widespread national lockdowns largely contributed to the increase in unemployment levels among young people in all nations. The most vulnerable and marginalized youth were disproportionately affected and will take even longer to recover. As the African continent, we need to invest in young people and enhance their potential to bring innovative solutions and perspective to address the COVID-19 induced challenges. Furthermore, There is a need to amplify the voices of young people and better engage them in the implementation and monitoring of measures and policies that contribute to a better future for both people and the planet. If by any chance we are to leave someone behind in this decade of action, then that cannot be young people. Any developmental agenda that excludes young people is indeed not sustainable. Just to make some gendered recommendations based on this discussion, the UNESCO in 2017 confirmed that only 30% of women are incorporated in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. This unfair and unequal representation may not be let to proceed. We need collective concerted efforts to establish inclusive models that promote women participation in such critical sectors of development. Our SDG implementation roadmap should contribute to the promotion of girls and women by offering tools and technical assistance to countries to attract and retain them in STEM fields. This supports directly the achievement of SDGs, especially SDG 5, Target 5, which recommends women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision-making in political, economic, and public life. And also enhancing scientific research, upgrade the technological capabilities of industrial sectors in all countries through encouraging innovation, substantially increasing the research and development agenda. Countries should harness women's full potential in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. Through equal participation in STEM initiatives, countries will reach high levels of development, increase their research output, and build capacity, thereby reducing inequalities and knowledge gap. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate that countries should develop a methodology and the tools to support policymakers in setting up, implementing, and monitoring gender equality in STI policies, conducting workshops to reinforce capacities, improve the infrastructure to support expansion of STI projects, advocate on the importance of STI, on improving STI gender-related policies and instruments, and collecting sex disaggregated data to continuously inform gendered policy and programming efforts. And finally, promote best practices, analyze gaps, offer insights, and creating innovative avenues, and enhance existing means for youth and women participation towards development in line with the United Nations Youth Strategy. That way, we will achieve the future we want across all nations in the African continent and, of course, globally. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zezai. You make a very important citations there when it comes to women and girls engagement in science, technology, and innovation. It's unfortunate for all our also participants. We're going to have our last section on questions we were going to address to each and every different panelist. For now, I'm calling upon Valentina Nyame. She is a programs manager with the African Youth and SDGs, as well as SDG Ghana, Youth 20 Alliance in Ghana. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Valentin. If you can unmute your mic, and then I'll give you the floor.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you clearly, please.
Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining us. My name, as has been said, is Valentina Nyame, and it's a great pleasure to be joining you. I'll be presenting on investing in green jobs for a sustainable future. So as part of my presentation, I'll start by looking at and giving a brief introduction. Then I'll be looking at why we should be talking about green jobs, what benefits green jobs have to offer for young people, what strategies can be put in place to also promote investment in green jobs. So a lot has been said about the COVID pandemic, but as we know, it has had severe implications on public health, as well as economic, social, and environmental repercussions. The economic impact has been experienced across countries include decrease in trading, economic activities, low business revenue, massive job labor, layoffs, unemployment, and decline in economic statistics. for us in development countries, as we know, these repercussions are severe. Even though COVID pandemic, the cases in Africa is comparatively low, but what we know is that because most of the infrastructure and most of our resilience are not as strong as places such as the developed countries, there has been a lot of shock for most economies. And as such, when you look at global statistics, it says that with the global economy, there's expected to be about 8.5 trillion when it comes to economic output losses. In Africa, currently it's expected that we have about 30 million of people are likely to fall out of poverty, and the number of food insecurity among people is also likely to increase. As such, there needs to be concerted efforts that are put in place to ensure that as we are looking at economic recovery, we are also looking at what has been the impact on the environment. With the environment, I noticed upon research that there has been significant positive and negative impact. However, the positive impact, which includes declining global emission of carbon dioxide, air pollution, and improved water quality, this only occurred during the period where a lot of industries had to stop work because of the COVID, and also as a result of some various procedures that were put in place by government to ensure that people really stay away from crowded areas as a result of the pandemic. However, because business is returning as usual, the concentration when it comes to environmental impact has increased. There are lots of cases of currently environmental degradation. And also an important thing is the waste that is currently being generated as a result of the PPEs that are being put in place. There are a lot of pictures and videos can be seen across countries where you have a lot of nose masks that are currently being seen in places such as rivers, streams, and across. And they are also increasing air pollution when it comes to also water, and many others. Apart from this, it's also important that based on this, we look at what has been the linkage between the environment and economic recovery. Why should we even be looking at green jobs currently? And we realize that most countries across the world, and even in Africa, are trying to put in recovery measures to ensure that they are really able to respond to the economic stress that was brought about as a result of the pandemic. So this brings us to the question, why green jobs? Why should we be having the conversation about green jobs now? I really like the definition by ILO, which says that green jobs are design jobs that are able to contribute to preserve and restore the environment. And this could be in sectors such as traditional sectors, such as manufacturing, construction, or emerging green sectors as well. So what potential does green jobs have for us? As we are looking at economic recovery, it's important we look at increasing jobs, increasing income, and general economic growth, as well as also accelerating efforts towards our environmental goals. As we know, 2020 was the decade of action. And what that meant was that for the last 10 years towards the achievement of Agenda 2030, there's supposed to be accelerated action towards the SDG. But because of the COVID pandemic, there was some progress that we were set back because a lot of focus was rather put on how we can really stay alive. But now, because there are currently economic recovery actions that are being put in place, it will be very beneficial for the achievement of the sustainable development goal if we are really able to really achieve the economic development or economic growth we want, as well as also ensure accelerated actions towards the SDGs. So generally, what does green jobs hold for young people? How can young people really benefit from investing in green jobs? What that does is that it will be able to reduce unemployment, increase job security, as well as reduce the rising inequality. With regards to unemployment and job security, statistics shows that with Africa, and specifically with sub-Saharan Africa, you have about 80% of workers forming within the informal sector. And a lot of these workers are young people, a lot of these are women and are girls, and also fall within the vulnerable sector. So it's important that if 80% are involved in the informal sector, and because of COVID, they are not able to get the sort of protection those within the formal sector are also getting. We then look at how we can come out with green jobs, decent jobs that can help them also form part of the formal sector, or even increase their resilience with any pandemic that comes across. Also, statistics shows that if you invest in green economy, you can generate 60 million additional jobs. And looking at the number of unemployed youth all across Africa and in most developing countries, this holds a very huge potential for young people. And also, if you're able to invest in green jobs, it says that the median wages for those that are employed within the green jobs are 13% higher than those that are employed within normal jobs. So this holds potential for young people. So what it also does is that currently with COVID, we are able to see the sort of innovation and entrepreneurship that young people have to offer. So by also improving benefits and improving investment in green jobs, we are able to also promote green youth entrepreneurship and innovation. And with the funding, they will be able to boost their job opportunities for others to also be employed. And also investing in green jobs, it sets a transition from fossil fuel to the production of green energy goods and services, and helps them, the environment also benefits because we will be able to minimize waste, pollution, and contribute to the restoration of the environmental ecological system. And this brings me to what strategies that can be put in place for investment in green jobs. And with this, there are a lot of them, but an important point I really would like to notice that for this strategy, it's not just for the government, the private sector, or young people. It needs a sort of collaborative efforts between all sectors to achieve this. And with the government specifically, whenever you want to introduce any policy that seeks to really build or improve any aspect, a very foundation that is needed is the formation of legislation. And here my point is that there's a need to formulate and enforce environmental legislation that will really enhance proactive green programming. And why enforcement is very important is that for most countries, what you have is that we have the laws, we have the legislation, we even have the institutions, but the problem is with the enforcement. So it's important that in as much as we focus on the formulation, we also give much focus to the enforcement of such legislation. And for such legislation, it's important we look at incentives that helps to really create private and public sector green jobs. We look at green skills development or training programs for young people, because for most people, they were born and they already have some level of skills that may not specifically suit them into green jobs, but with the right training, services, and sort of mentorship, they can be able to be groomed to fit into those jobs. So it's important we also invest in green public infrastructure and services. It's also important that we are able to also improve and expand the educational curriculum. Now we have a whole number of young people that are coming up. They are vibrant, they have the skills, they are ready to learn. So it's important that our curriculum looks at how we can really integrate green approaches, green knowledge, TVET, training, skills, technology, innovations that can really help expand their skills and help them come out with innovations that can fit within the current green economy we are looking at. And also important point I also want to add is the expansion of green technology, importation and exportation. In the sense that when we look at green technology importation, as we are looking at collaboration within countries, especially in Africa, since we are together and we are on the continent, there are several countries that are already coming out with innovations that are working, that has been designed by young people. So how do we ensure that other countries are able to also benefit from such importation, and how do the countries that have also been able to really come out with such green innovation or jobs, how do they also expand it to other African countries? Because yes, it's easy to say we are developing something new, but if you already have the foundation, then it makes it easier to really expand on what has been done. And by having different countries come on board, it helps to really improve what has already been done. The last point is also what sort of benefit is also to provide attractive benefits that will help support green industries and sectors. There are a lot of people who have the ideas and will want to come in, but they are looking at tax incentives. They are also comparing what is the sort of investment they will put in a green.
Hi, Valentina, have we lost you? Can this be connectivity, Valentina, if you're still there?
Hello?
Hello, yes, Valentina,
Hello?
can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
You just lost you a little bit there. Can you please proceed?
Okay, so I was adding the last point, which was to provide attractive benefits and support to green industries and sectors, which means that there are already people with these technologies, but for young people, a major aspect is how we get finance and how we get the funding to even come out with.
Oh, I think a network is bad there. Valentina, are you there? I think it was wrapping. Yes, are you there?
Yes, hello. Yes,
yes,
I'm
if
here.
you can just switch off your video, I think maybe, and conclude. Maybe it's the connectivity.
Okay. So I'm looking at the video. Hello. Is it clear now?
It is clear. Please proceed. It is clear.
Okay. So I guess I've already talked about that. So I'll just conclude since that is the last one. So with the conclusion, I would just want to add that whilst we are looking at investing in green jobs, it's also important for us to know that green jobs is crucial for a green economy, but it's not sufficient to achieve sustainable development. It's just one aspect or one of the actions that we can do to achieve sustainable development. But there are a wide range of activities, or there are a wide range of things that have to be put in place to achieve sustainable.
Valentina, are you still there? I think we might have lost her.
Yes.
Valentina?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
your conclusion. Your conclusion,
I'm
please.
here. So yes, as I said, I think I should conclude because my internet is breaking up. But then that's what I would like to add, that there are a lot of things that has to be complemented with green jobs. Looking at policies, looking at even behavioral changes, which can be done for young people can do on their own, and different actions. So it's not just about creating the jobs, but green jobs, but making sure that those green jobs also complement other actions or conscious efforts towards the achievement of the SDGs. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Valentina. You have actually highlighted a lot of opportunities in the green economy, but your underlining statement is that it's not only greening the economy that makes us achieve the SDGs. There is more to that, but this is one of the areas where we can complement the plans that we have in attaining the global goals as we started the Decade of Action in 2020. Now, please, all those that have questions can put in the comment section. We'll open up the floor for questions when all the presenters have made their presentations. Now I'm calling upon Seyilnan Gushe. I hope I pronounced it correctly. She's a programs coordinator for the UNSDGS Professional Support Group for Africa. Seyilnan, are you there? Please correct me if I've said it wrong.
You tried though. Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Like he said, I'm Seyilnan Gushe, the program coordinator of UNSDGS Professional Support Group for Africa. So I'll be talking on women inclusion by countries to ensure equal and equitable access by young women and girls to opportunities in social, economic, and political spheres. So according to UNICEF, they describe gender equality as women and men, girls and boys, enjoying the same rights, resources, opportunities, and protections. It does not require that girls and boys or women and men be the same or that they are treated exactly alike. According to FHI 360 gender framework, they said gender inequality limits women and girls' access to information, decision-making power, economic assets, educational opportunities, social capital, and other health and development resources. It also places women at greater risk of gender-based violence, human trafficking, early and forced marriages, and other human rights violations. Studies have shown that more than 50% of the population of Africa is women. But funny enough, in 2018, only 33% of the GDP was generated by women, which now makes us wonder where we went wrong. According to the GMI Gender Parity Score, GPS, which measures the parity of the measures inequality, Africa scores 0.58 as to a scale on a scale of 0 to 1, with 0 being a situation of no gender parity and 1 with situations of complete gender parity, indicating that there's a lot of inequality, gender inequality across Africa. And even though some countries perform differently on this scale, like for instance, we know that South Africa has the highest gender parity in Africa with 0.76, indicating median gender inequality, while we have Mauritania with 0.46, Mali with 0.46, and Niger with 0.45 of the GPS. And this overall picture is one that shows that there's stagnation, but some countries have done well on these indicators. For instance, we have Rwanda and South Africa have increased women's representation in middle management roles by 27% and 15% respectively, and Algeria has cut maternal mortality rates by around 9%. Egypt has tripled its scores, and Guinea and Liberia doubled their scores on legal protection of women. These are examples that could be followed by other countries. And benefits of economic empowerment of women. We have that women economic empowerment is central to realizing women's rights and gender equality. Women's economic empowerment includes women's ability to participate equally in existing markets, and their access to and control over productive resources, access to decent work, control over their own time, lives and bodies, and increase voice, agency, and meaningful participation in economic decision-making at all levels, from the household to the international institutions. Empowering women in the economy and closing gender gaps in the world of work are key to achieving 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 5, which is to achieve gender equality. Also the Goal 8, to promote full and productive employment and decent work for all. Also Goal 1 on ending poverty, Goal 2 on full security, Goal 3 on ensuring health, and Goal 10 on reducing inequalities. When women work, economies grow. Women's economic empowerment boosts productivity, increases economic diversification and income equality, in addition to other positive developments. For example, increasing female empowerment in OECD countries to match that of Sweden could boost GDP by over $6 trillion US. Recognizing this, however, that growth does not automatically lead to reduction in gender-based inequality. Conversely, it is estimated that gender gaps cause the economy some 15% of the GDP. Increasing women's and girls' educational attainment contributes to women's economic empowerment and more inclusive economic growth. Education, upskilling, and reskilling over the life course, especially to keep pace with the rapid technological and digital transformations affecting jobs, are critical for women's and girls' health and well-being, as well as their income generation opportunities and participation in the formal labor market. Increased educational attainment accounts for about 50% of the economic growth in OECD countries over the past 50 years. But for majority of women, significant gains in education have not translated into better labor market outcomes. Like we know in Africa, 70% of the jobs are done by women, but they get only 10% of the payments, which is not so good. Then women's economic equality is good for business. Companies greatly benefit from increasing employment and leadership opportunities for women, which is shown to increase organizational effectiveness and growth. It is estimated that companies with 3 or more women in their senior management functions score higher in all dimensions of their organizational performance. So it cannot be overemphasized that women need to be included and to be trained in various spheres of life. And how do we do that now? Women's economic empowerment can just be achieved by financial inclusion, support efforts to increase women access to quality financial services such as credit, savings, insurance, and payment systems through better regulation, technology, and financial literacy. Women and agriculture, like I mentioned earlier, or I don't remember if I mentioned it. Women play a major role in agriculture in Africa. It is estimated that women produce much of the food in Africa. And we know that highlighting women's vital roles in advancing agricultural development and food security and encourage policy and programmatic support for female farmers and agricultural business owned by women. Enterprise growth support NGOs, industry associations, and corporations advocating for policy and programmatic solutions that enable women's economic participation, including reforming discriminatory laws and practices that hinder access to capital, land tenure, and inheritance rights, and encouraging a policy climate conducive to the growth of women-run SMEs. Technology access. Close the gender gap in access to mobile phones, the internet, and other vital technologies by addressing cultural, financial, educational, and motivational barriers. Capacity building. We need to provide capacity building, training, and mentoring programs for women and girls and equip them with market information, entrepreneurship opportunities, and the necessary skills to attain economic independence. For example, through our Pathways to Prosperity and African Women Entrepreneurs Program. Then business leadership. Encourage best practices to increase women's representation in senior management positions, including on corporate boards. And also we can achieve this by data collection, promote the collection of alignment of gender-sensitive data in the economic sector to create evidence-based policies and programs aimed at increasing women's economic participation across all sections. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Seyilnan. You've actually highlighted a lot of the importance of economic empowerment, women economic empowerment, most likely women and girls, considering Africa, the statistics that we have that 1 in 3 women, they've experienced sexual gender-based violence or physical harm. And the reason in most cases why some of them do not report, not really much interested to pursue, is because of their economic independence. So you are presenting the importance of empowering our women as far as the economics is concerned. And maybe in Zimbabwe we also have a women's bank. I'm not so sure of its impact. I think one of our last speakers was coming here, Juliana Kariri, who is the compliance and legal manager for the Zimbabwe Youth Council. I don't know, Juliana, if you're there, if you can come through with your presentation, and then we open up for questions from people. We are discussing the active participation of the African youth towards the sustainable development goals, of course, with the gender lens in the African context. Juliana, are you there? If you can unmute yourself.
I'm here, just.
Yes, please go ahead with the presentations, and then we'll open up questions and contributions from the floor.
Okay, so I'm going to first off start by saying that gender equality is important and should be mainstreamed. But when we look at singling out youth empowerment in the construct of gender equality, it shows that we are looking at making sure that gender equality is appreciated from the lowest levels. And then when these older people grow up, it is then inculcated in their lives. So what are the challenges? My topic is about challenges facing development. So there are 5 challenges that are demography, leadership, food security, conflict sustainability, and resource scarcity. When we talk about demography, what am I talking about? I'm talking about young women and girls having access to their reproductive choices, family planning choices, because women are the ones that control population trends. And if they're not given that right access to information and tools, it then means that they've limited access to schooling, formal jobs, and building their career. What does this mean? It actually then poses a challenge in that we're looking now at poverty. Women determine, like I said, the population trends, and then once women, we see that a lot of adolescents are the ones that are sexually active. Opportunity to pursue schooling, maybe because of early child marriages, because they've not been given the information and tools to use so that they prevent early childbearing. It then means that we've deprived them of schooling, employment. In Zimbabwe, would say we in Sub-Sahara, actually, let me not narrow it down to Zimbabwe. We are one of the regions that have the highest rates of early child marriages and the highest rates of teenage pregnancies due to social norms and cultural beliefs, and just generally because the society that appreciates the son more than the girl child. So early child pregnancies occurs because adolescents, there's a lot of considerable barriers in dissemination of information, guidance, and services related to contraceptives. So the opportunities that lie there are that if young women and girls are afforded the opportunity to go to school and to seek formal employment, they are therefore able to contribute to their country's development. And then another challenge is leadership. When I'm talking about leadership, I'm talking about the think leader, think male phenomenon. You've seen a lot of company leadership. So this starts from an early age in the communities where young women and girls are growing up. There is no belief that a young girl can inherit even land, can lead once the father is gone. So you see even disparities in inheritance and how the young girl is treated from the brothers. And then when you come
we've lost you.
place,
We seem to have lost you a little bit. Juliana, we seem to have lost you a little bit. I think
opportunities.
we seem to have lost you a
Women
little.
tend to then have to prove themselves. So that in its own also then that we are also facing social, or maybe let me remove my picture and then we can maybe then that will help. Is that better? Is that better?
That's better. That's better now. Thank you.
Okay. So then the other challenge that we have is food security. Women and girls form the backbone of most of our small hold agricultural communities. And land is becoming more scarce in our various countries. We realize due to maybe inheritance based land division, environmental degradation, population causes displacement and change, which is a threat to our livelihoods. So
network challenges are really affecting us. Our apologies. I hope she's trying to continue.
Here is to unleash potential of small-scale farming is to land so that they can support their families' homes. It's always the young girls and their mothers. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay, so I was saying that to address in most communities that we see in the rurals, because they're the ones that live on agricultural based inputs and stuff like that, and who are the leading people, it's always the young women and the mothers taking care of their families. Inherit lands to also be able to access inputs so that they can grow our economies. Then we're only then posing a challenge for our countries and our nations, because if we then manage to capacitate them and empower them, then it means that we've got good crop quality and good crop productivity from small scale up to the whole value chain. So that too, and then my other challenge would be then on sustainability and resource scarcity. Access to resources and resource scarcity has disproportionately affected or impacted more on the vulnerable households and communities. Women and young girls bear most of the responsibility and impacts associated with this procuring and using of resources. When I'm talking about this, you'll see that in most instances, firewood or maybe just the basic fetching of water is done by the girl child or the mother in that household. If these resources are not there, it then means the household is shaken. You see, then we'll even talk about gender-based violence coming into play, because these resources are not available in the household and for the family. So if the opportunities that if women are given a voice in the entire development process, there might be better resource management to improve better sustainability and improve access, because from a tender age, the young woman knows how to manage a household, what needs to be done for it to be sustainable. So if we've got young women and young girls understand
Hey, we are losing you, Juliana, there. Hello?
in the development process and being educated better, it means that from the household towards the national level. Hello?
Yeah, hello. Thank you. Thank you so much, Juliana. Thank you so much. Yes, we could hear you now. You have actually been concluding on issues to do with sustainability, where you're reckoning that young women and girls, when they grow up, they're very responsible and they are trained in groups to manage resources very well, which becomes one of the key aspects that we also need to discuss. I think now, as we open up our panelists, our other participants to have questions, which can then interact with the panelists that have spoken before. Maybe when they are coming in, I want to come to you, Seyilnan. We're talking about women empowerment through economic ways, which can be financing, training, grooming. To what extent do you see Africa, maybe if you look at our own, the African Union and other bodies that are affiliated with African Union, also African governments, to what extent do you see them commit towards women empowerment in this? Is this something that is really practical, or it has always been something that has been spoken about, which you've only heard, or which you've only read in newspapers, but we're yet to really see its implementation on the ground? I don't know, Seyilnan, Gushe, if you're there.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know if you got the question.
Please, can you repeat yourself?
Yes, I was saying that you were talking about women empowerment, women and girls empowerment in Africa as a continent, over and above the misnomer in our cultures that usually women will not get, young girls will not get the equal opportunities. That being the same even in unemployment, that being the same even on economic empowerment. So I was asking you, are there any trends that you have seen which you think our African Union as a body and also the African governments are making strides to ensure that we also empower the young girls and women economically, so that we know that these aspects of women abuse, which is also caused because of lack of resources and also financial independence, might come to an end as we are pushing for a sustainable future for Africa. Your comment on that?
Okay, thank you very much. Definitely there are trends. Like here in Nigeria, we have a lot of programs and projects done by the government to empower women and include them, and a lot of grants and loans that have been given specifically for women and the empowerment of women. And mostly when we see calls for job opportunities now, we always see the clause that has equal opportunities for everyone. So of course, yes, it's where we are getting to, and we will get there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Seyilnan. It's unfortunate from this other side, we see comments where they're written when a job has been advertised, they say women encouraged to apply. Women are encouraged to apply. I think to all our panelists, if you have any questions, you can also show that by raising your hand, and then we can give you an option to ask. Maybe I'll ask you, Mr. Zezai, from your science, technology, and innovation aspect you have presented on. What do you think is the major challenge which is causing young women and girls not to participate in science, technology, and innovation? And how do we bring that up? And most likely, another aspect that we also need to also take cognizance is that Africa is different from America, meaning to say that when our girls grow up, some of them really see robots. So what is your take on that? What can we do, including those in rural communities, to ensure they also play a pivotal role in science, technology, and innovation?
Thank you very much, Ms. Moderator, for bringing such a very pertinent question under the discussion forum. In my view, I think we really appreciate that the African society is a predominantly patriarchal society, and that brings the cultural belief that which we are trying to do away through educational campaigns and other gender promotional initiatives to bring in the aspect of equality across sectors, ranging from access to education. I think it's key. You realize that back then, the access to education was, there was a deprivation of access to education for the female part as compared to the male counterpart. So that knowledge gap has created issues around gender inequality across sectors, because as people will be trying to hire professionals to be part of their employees, they'll consider issues like education. So in an event that there is less education capacities around the female counterparts. So what it does mean is that they will really prefer those who are a bit more educated. And that is driven, as I have already said, that from our cultural belief that a man is always better than a woman. But I'm sure we are getting somewhere. We are very much aware that in the African continent, there is no country so far which has attained gender equity and equality across sectors, whether education, employment, and other sectors of life or development processes. Of course, we know that Rwanda is a bit competitive. It is even competing with, the European countries in terms of gender inclusion or gender sensitivity in its developmental processes. But we really have a long way to go. I was even looking at the disparity in the gender paycheck between the females and the males. You realize that there is a long way to go in terms of trying to reach an equity and equality kind of state. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zezai. I think one of the panelists also raised a question, which I think I would ask Valentina. She's saying, that's Juliana, she's saying, is it about quantity or quality for women? What do we really think about the quotas? Are we really going to say that we need the quantity or we need the quality? What exactly are we looking in terms of the quality, whether in a social economic aspect? Do we really the numbers, the more women, either they are good or they're bad, who are saying, let's choose what is best from what we have? Valentina, I don't know your comment on that. Juliana is saying that, is it about the quantity or it's about the quality of women that we need to really look at? But I don't know if the same question also applies to men. But also she's asking about, do we really think we need these quotas to come on board? How do we implement them? I don't know your view, most likely from your experience and also the jobs.
I think there's no way we can choose between the two. I think we need both. We need the quantity and we need the quality. The quantity in terms of the quality in relation to the fact that if opportunities are being provided, we are not saying they should be handed to women just because they are women. We are saying women are capable. So if given the skills and the techniques and everything, we can be able to fit there. So for each opportunity, we are saying women can also meet up men. Not that they are fighting for the same position, but we have women who have the skills, if given the opportunities, that are still given to men. In terms of quantity, because it's also important that for every sector we look at, there are equal representation of women and men. So I really think that there's no way we can say, okay, now we are looking at just how do we call it, less quality. So we are saying women are not qualified enough to occupy those spaces. But yes, because of also, we already know the systematic biases when it comes to gender that has rendered with a lot of sectors, you have a lot of men that are qualified more than women. That is only because there are already systematic biases when it comes to gender access to opportunities. But if equal access are being provided, then there's no way there will be a job opportunities where you will not have both of the genders that are fighting for the same position. So for me, I would say there has to be an equal number when it comes to both goes hand in hand. So there's quality, we want quality, we also want quantity, so that women will be able to represent and fight for their needs, for their rights, for their freedom, and not rely on others to do it for them, because they know what is wrong with whatever is going on and they know how to go about it and achieve what they want. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valentina. I see someone in the chat box there. Sharon is saying I would go for quantity in the short run and quality in the long run. At least let's get them there first while we plan and work on quality. At the end of the day, we need both. But with women's positions right now, let's grab opportunities and see what we can do. So she's saying we can have them in office now while they're being groomed and trained. Whatever decisions they make, we always understand that they're still in the processing, they're being polished to ensure that they're competent in that space. I don't know, Juliana, your comment as well on this aspect before we come out to the round of your last comments.
I think it's been well put out, but eventually I think when we talk about gender equality, the aspect of quotas for me has to eventually fall away, because when we're saying we're equal partners and we can do this, it means that ultimately are saying we do not need to be spoon-fed. Avail to us the opportunity. Let the female child, so it becomes more of an aspect of the mindset to jobs and stuff like that. So then eventually we can start off like Sharon has said with the quantity for now, but let's build on the mindsets, on the cultural dynamics and the social norms to appreciate that women eventually have an equal footing. It should be afforded the same opportunity as the men.
Thank you so much, Juliana. She's saying women should also afford the same opportunity as men, which is very important, of course, starting with the quantity, while the quality is coming. I think we also need to have people in higher tertiary education to also share with us the statistics in universities, as well as the programs that are aligned. Maybe I'll come to you, Valentina, maybe your question before we have our last round of conclusion. We want to know, in terms of the green economy you've been talking about, to what extent are you seeing a lot of young women active as far as climate action in green economy is concerned? We've seen Greta Thunberg doing quite a good work. We've seen her present at the UN General Assembly, and we've seen the world is shaken when it comes to climate action. What can the African young women and girls do to also ensure that they play an important role, besides the fact that they're the ones that are sent to fetch the firewood, to destroy the forests in this country? They have the responsibility to do that, and also at times they are the ones that actually abuse, sent to go and collect water and fetch water even in sources that are not really very conducive for human consumption. What is your say on that, as you've been running, the African Youth SDGs, and also post COVID-19, we have to take confidence with that as Africa, as you are driving beyond COVID-19, what are the new ways that you think the young women in Africa should do as far as climate action is concerned?
Thank you very much. I think in their own ingenuity, women are coming out with a lot of innovation, but I think there seems to be a gap, because when you come to most urban areas where there are many options when it comes to green economy, people are going for options that are more, in terms of women, they are going for options that are more affordable, more green. I work with a number of network of women groups that they are coming out with innovative climate actions. But I'm also looking at the rural areas. Are we saying women are not doing enough because they are going to let's say the forest to cut down trees for food? Or we are saying there are no other options for them and they can't afford the green sort of green economy or green technologies that are available. So for places like the rural areas, I think there seems to be a huge, how do I call it, disparity in terms of even access to what's green. What do you mean by green? Because we know for most people within the rural areas that are poor, their main they are motivated to get something to eat. For people who don't have money, they are very motivated to really look at what economic opportunities are available, rather than first thinking about the environment. But now, in terms of fisheries, in terms of agriculture, there are a lot of options that are being provided. And I want to also recommend that commend that there are a lot of governments in Ghana where they are now being introduced to more, in terms of agriculture especially, more aquaculture like practices. And when it comes to irrigation, how they can even fish, or even there are a lot of issues. I don't know about other countries, but for Ghana, we had a huge issue when it comes to mining or illegal mining. And most of the times you have women and girls that are actively engaged in it. So the government decided that it will try and in a way to integrate those within the informal sector, within the formal sector. They were rolling out a program to really engage them. So I really feel a lot is being done, but the rate at which those that are also within the rural areas, the rate at which is being done is not what is expected. And it's important that we look at how, when we are focusing on green technology or green economy, how we don't just concentrate between at the urban areas because they can afford, and in a way like leave the rural areas out because we think they probably can't afford or they don't have the skills enough to engage. So I think it's important we look at both the rural and the urban areas so that there's no form of disparity when it comes to green jobs, green opportunities, or in terms of green innovation in both ends. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valentina. What very important aspects there you're raising, that we also need to look at those that are in the rural communities. Allow me also to just let you be the first speaker. One of our conversation, one of our participants saying, how can other external SDG partners help promote the objective, especially from a green economy as well as gender mainstreaming? I think maybe while you're giving us your parting words, because I think we've run out of our time on our side event. We want to appreciate ECOSOC, which has provided us this platform, is the ECOSOC Youth Forum 2021, which is going to be really happening soon, where we're going to have the United Nations Secretary General also address the young people and also have ideas and people coming on board discussing different issues. Your last comments, Valentina, as well as a comment on that aspect. You're on mute.
Okay, is it on how external SDG partners can help improve the objectives?
Yes.
Yes. I really think usually when you talk about external factors, are we looking at foreign partners, or we are also looking at partners external in terms of within, but those that are also interested? Please clarify. If it's foreigners, I think there are a lot of collaborations that are going on already. We have governments, the private sector working with other NGOs or other CSOs to make things work. But it's also important that usually we have a lot of external partners that want to help, but they don't know how to help. So that is how us as NGOs or CBOs, we come in to say, these are the strategies. And my also worry has been that for most of the times, the partners that come in, because they have the finance, they know what they want, but because they don't know how they want it, they kind of also drive the process. So us being NGOs, us being activists, leaders, us being young people, and we being able to also work within the sector for a number of years, sometimes we know in a way, we know better, although we don't have the finances, we have the techniques and the skills. So whenever there are such collaboration, we as young people should be able to guide the direction of the process. It doesn't mean we are supposed to impose, but we are supposed to come out with what the research is saying, what activities we've engaged in. Then based on that, we'll be able to find good solutions. We shouldn't just pick any partnership and say, oh, just because there's funding that is being provided, let's do it the way the external partner wants. It's important that we ensure that we are co-collaborators on any project and are also able to express what we think about it. We should never, as young people, be silent listeners, or we should be silent in any opportunities or in any partnerships we find ourselves in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Valentina. I think I'll go to Juliana, your comments and your closing remarks on this aspect, which has been very much exciting. We've had a lot of issues coming to do with science, technology, innovation, young women participation. We've also heard about the green economy, the green jobs by Valentina. We've also heard about the challenges young women are facing from Juliana, and of course, the economic aspect by Seyilnan. So I think for now, I'll give it to you, Juliana.
Okay, thank you, Jasper. Quite an informative session. Gender equality for me is centered young women are able to fully realize. I'm looking at young people and organizations that are advanced equal.
Juliana, if you can turn off your camera, it's unfortunate. I think our network is really affecting us.
Girls' rights, this is holes and stereotypes at home. If you are a brother, okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I was saying that let's challenge the roles and stereotypes that affect the inequalities and exclusion from the grassroots in our homes. If you are a brother, educate our parents at the grassroots level to appreciate that young women can also have that space to go to school. Say, mommy, today let my sister go to school. I would chop the firewood. I would do this, so that there are equal opportunities from that home. So let's challenge the roles and stereotypes from that level. Let's be our brother's keeper and then grow our economies from there. So that will be my parting shot for you, Jasper, challenging the roles and stereotypes.
Thank you so much, Juliana. I think you raised an important issue there where we need to also involve our religious and traditional leaders in the communities, because they also shape the future of the community where we live, our boys and our girls. So we need also their input in there. Zezai, if you can come through with your, David, if you can come through with your submission.
Thank you very much. Just a few points on my parting remarks. I think we need as a nation to realize, as a globe or as a continent, to realize that going forward, science, technology, and innovation is going to drive the developmental processes. And so we just need now to make sure that we intensify our youth empowerment programs. We also need to intensify the women empowerment programs and make sure that we provide equal participation spaces and opportunities for both youth and women in the developmental agenda. So youth mainstreaming and women mainstreaming in the developmental agenda is quite key, and make sure that they are all empowered in the key elements of the fourth industrial revolution: science, technology, and innovation. Thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this very fruitful discussion. And thank you very much for all the panelists. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zezai. It's unfortunate Seyilnan has actually left for another meeting. It's a great pleasure to have you all. I want to appreciate our panelists, Seyilnan, all the way from the United Nations SDG Professional Support Group for Africa. She's based in Nigeria. We also have Valentina based in Ghana, Programs Manager with African Youth in SDGs, as well as Youth Advocate Ghana, and also Juliana Kariri, who's Head of Legal and Compliance at Zimbabwe Youth Council. And Mr. Zezai, what we also want to share with other participants there is that we are part of this forum that is happening, the ECOSOC from 2021. The 2021 forum is also guided by the theme Sustainable Resilience and Recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic that promotes the economic, social, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development. What we need to do is we are building an inclusive and effective path for the achievement of 2030 agenda in the context of the decade of action and delivery for the sustainable development goals. Young people have a role to play. We all have a role to play. Let's continue to engage and partner and collaborate and ensure that the SDGs are taken to the communities. We are not just the beneficiaries of the SDGs, but we are the drivers of the SDGs. I want to thank every panelist and every participant here. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's enjoy and join other panel sessions on the ECOSOC forum. Enjoy your day. Thank you.